Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today, I'm super excited. I have Kristin Carey with me today. And I even double checked on her name because people have tried to say her name wrong before, and I don't want to do that. So hopefully I said it right this time.
You did.
You've been in business and sales for 30 years. You've taken multiple businesses to 7 to 8 figures. You've been holistic, like you're into holistic stuff and health as well, and sales and all. And that's just like a super high overview. But in your own words, tell people who you are, who you help, and what you do.
Oh, that was a great question. So I help entrepreneurs close more deals. I mean, that's about as easy as it gets, right? But doing it from a place where they feel good about it. And it's not a script and it's not forced and it's not trickery, but that they feel really aligned with the conversations that they're having. So people are coming through their sales or pipelines and they're feeling good about the company. They don't feel pressured. They don't feel forced. It's not a one call close, though it could be, but it's not that broy, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
for closers. So,
That's 1980s, 1990s type
yeah.
of vibe with the slam it down. And if people remember right, Wolf of Wall Street went to jail for about 20 years or however long because
Mhm.
he was
Yeah.
screwing people. So I have the same type of approach as you do. Um, so have you always just been a closer? Has that been kind of your role for a while or?
Yeah, I mean, looking back now, yes. At the time, I wouldn't have called it that. I wouldn't have known. But I mean, I was in my college dorm room. The guy I was dating at the time, who I later married, who I later divorced, he was a serial entrepreneur. So he'd started a handful of businesses in his college dorm room, and I was like, this could be fun to do your marketing. And what I was doing was really getting in there, creating the pathway for people to find him. And then I was the one that was closing a lot of those deals. And then people started coming to me saying, hey, can you do this for me too? So I had a business coming out of college, helping people market and close, not realizing how amazing that was at the time. I just thought it was a good time and it was fun. I was making a bunch of money. And then people were asking me to get on platforms to speak at large conferences about the same thing. And then I started getting hired by really large companies to come in and help their higher individuals at the higher levels be more effective and more persuasive, even just in their leadership style. So it wasn't even direct sales at that point. It was the sales back into the company to get them to believe and feel and, rise up and support the company and
Mhm.
help them too. So I was killing it actually in my 20s
Yeah.
and 30s, not realizing how profound that really was at that age. Kind of like
Mhm.
I didn't know what I had, so I just kept doing it. And I had to their to speak to this. I was also a member of the National Speakers Association local chapter at the time, and I had really amazing mentors. And I
Mhm.
was the youngest person that they kind of had ever seen at that level, and I got to learn early to normalize having conversations around money
Mhm.
and high level money. So I was able to close 5 figure, 6 figure contracts with Verizon and UPS and some of these companies and was able to speak to that in a way where I wasn't, weird about the
Mhm.
money conversation. So that also helped me really early on. So that's a thing I talk to a lot of my clients about. Do you have enough people around you who'll help you normalize the money conversation? And
Yeah.
most of them don't. They grow up being afraid of money. You don't talk
Mhm.
about what your parents made. You don't have those conversations. How dare you talk about what you spent on that thing? And that screws up our frequency or our connection with the energy of money.
Mhm. No, I love that. And I think I've always heard the old adage, don't think with your pocketbook, let them think with theirs. And I think for me, it was like when I had well, actually, I know when that shifted in my head because I was doing B2C, so B to
Yep.
business to consumer. Then I went into B2B and I was doing investment. But on this investment deal, I got in the doctor to invest 50,000, which was a big deal, but it's okay. And
Yep.
he's like, hey, send me this profile thing for the next one with this for oil and gas. I was like, okay, cool, great. You have to call me the day after Thanksgiving because that's the only time I'm available. And he's an ER doctor. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm telling my wife, hey, it's going to take about an hour. I walk upstairs and I go, hey, Doctor So and So, because I don't want to give his name. And he's like, yeah, you called. I want 2.5 points. Well, that's $250,000. At that time, that gave me 25,000. That was a big check. I was super
Yeah.
stoked. Now I'm like, that's normal. But at that time, that was the first time, like in 7 minutes, I made that amount of money. But I was thinking, well, he already invested 50. Maybe he'll do another 50. I don't know. And all of a sudden, he just he thought of that. And now looking back to life, I've sold heavy equipment, hundreds of thousands of dollars. An old farmer came in a beat up truck that looked like it was falling apart. And he bought a $250,000 piece of equipment. And the company's like, well, we can't do it just to check because we don't know you. He goes, well, can we call my bank right now? Put him on speaker. Called bank, put him on speaker. When he said his name, they knew who he was. They wired the money. I'm like, oh, I don't need to think that way. Like that whole idea. And now with me with money, it's just like, it's just a number. It's just what am I trying to achieve? What do I want to be happy? And money is a tool to get me there. At least that's where my mind goes. When you said that, you just made that whole thought just go in my head because so many people, I grew up in the Midwest. We were talking about that a little bit before. You're supposed to get married, find the girl, work for the same company, don't talk about religion, politics, or money. And I am like the opposite. I talk about all of it. I did marry the girl. That part worked out. I have not stayed with the same company, and that's fine. I've been with multiple different companies. I've run my own stuff. I think it comes down to this, and I want to know because you said energy around money. What do you mean about that? Because some people might not understand this should be in woo. What are we talking about? So give us your definition. And I like woo. So if that's the
Yeah.
case, we can go there too. I don't care.
I'm the very grounded woo. I'm the bridge between the strategy and the woo. And I make sense out of it because I also, I'm a natural health practitioner. That's another part of my story. But I found how much more healthy, and I mean that emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, we can be when we understand the literal frequencies within our systems and our bodies. So if you ever walk into a room and you feel something wrong and you don't know why, it's because we are all made up of energy and frequency, and you sense something. We're actually literally designed to have a sensory experience around what's around us to know right away, are we in danger? Are we not? Should we be running right now? Should we be fighting right now? Should we be protecting ourselves? And that's built into who we are from birth, actually before birth. So when people start to understand it's a measurable thing, it's not just a woo and, oh, I just feel magic. Yes, and that, but you understand everything is energy, everything is frequency. You are vibrating at a certain frequency when you're angry, when you're happy, when you're joyous. Your dog is vibrating at a specific frequency if he's scared, if he's not. The tree outside the office, right? It's a frequency depending on what's going on. And we're all sensing that at all times. As we get older and we get further away from the age of 7, we are less in tune with that most of the time. So when you start to look at children up to the age of 7, they're actually vibing much more in what am I feeling? What am I sensing? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? As we get past that, there's something shifts in the brain, and we also try to make the logical connection out of it. So we override our physical response, or we think we do, and we start getting into our head, but there's still a response. So if you've had some sort of what your body thinks is a trauma up to the age of 7, we categorize that and say, oh, that didn't feel good, so that must be a bad thing, or that felt good, that must be a good thing. And then we look for evidence to support that as we continue to get older. So back to your original question, that took me a minute, but back to your original question, when you look at money, it's just an energy exchange. It's paper, but we don't even use paper anymore. We don't even use coins anymore. We don't physically touch it for the most part. So it's even more of an energy exchange where money numbers are just transferring magically, from one bank account to the other. But we have an attachment to it. We have a frequency to it. We have an emotional experience with money. So if you have an emotional experience with money where you think it's bad, money is the root of all evil, you can't talk about money, we have to hide it, we have to hold on to it, because what if someone takes it from us? There's a fear frequency, or there's a good frequency attached to it from a physical standpoint. So as you bring that with you into the conversation, not realizing it, you could be stopping someone from buying from you because you have a bad frequency attached to that money. So that's a lot of the work that I do, because it's like legit part of who we are and how we're actually vibrating ourselves. And then we also develop the structures and how does this work? I was literally having a conversation with a client just minutes before I jumped on with you, where he's doing really well he does a webinar to sell into a 997 program. And it's a do-it-yourself program. People watch the webinar, and he has a great closing rate of the number of people that he has go into this 997 program, but he can't seem to up level and move them into anything above that. So I went back through and started looking at all of the statistical stuff. Like, I'm a spreadsheet kind of girl. but I can also
Nice.
pull the woo right
Yeah,
into
yeah.
that spreadsheet. So we looked at all the numbers, and then we looked at the story behind the numbers, and then the story he was telling behind the numbers,
Hmm.
and was that
Hmm.
really true? So we made some shifts in the tangible for him today, as well as the emotional frequency connection that he had to the story on why no one's buying the high ticket item. I'm like, if they're coming through and you have this much of a percentage of people who are coming and showing up for this webinar and buying on the webinar, even if it's a
Hmm.
997 program, there's no reason you shouldn't have at least 30% of them upgrading to your $5,000 and $6,000 and $7,000 program. He's like, no
Right.
one wants to buy, and this is the story. I'm like, well, is it?
Mm.
So by the end of this conversation, and it was just over text, it wasn't even like some big conversation. It like the paradigm shifted for him. Now the numbers haven't shifted because we literally just had this
Oh
conversation,
yeah.
but they will. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. But he had a story, he had a frequency, he had an attachment of why no one was buying. And it really rooted down to his belief about him and his
Hmm.
attachment to money and how much somebody would buy.
No, I love that. So here we're getting into the actual real aspects of sales and the negotiations and how, like, I'm really good at C-suite people. It doesn't matter if they run $1 billion company, it doesn't matter if they run millions of company. If it's C-suite, I am amazed. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why, but like I'm just really good. Like that's who I work good with. You get me with like the spreadsheet engineer people, I bring in someone else because they mesh better because I think like a business owner. I do. Even though I'm more of a sales guy, I think like a business owner. When I approach my business, it's the same thing. But you mentioned the energy, and I want to come back to there because I've walked into rooms and I listen to my gut a lot. Like I'm really big into that because when I
Yeah.
haven't, it's burnt me. And there's certain people that on paper looks great. They have everything and they're saying the right things, and I won't do a deal with them. And people look at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not.
Why?
I just won't because I know there's something there. Then there's someone else, like I mentioned, that farmer that people would just look at and go, oh, this guy ain't got. I'm like, that man was worth 10 million at least.
Yep.
When you can just write a check for 250,000 and not blink, he just didn't care about the what today people think is success. Most really rich or wealthy people that I know, they might have some nice things, but they don't really think of it the same way. I think you just dropped a key, especially to your business owner. He was at that one level, 997. He could justify probably in his mind paying 997 for it, but he couldn't justify in his mind paying 5 grand for it. But I had a learning experience when I was coaching people. Like, why are you charging a grand when you have over 20 years experience with this and you have multiple President's Circles awards from a Fortune 100 company?
Yep. Yeah.
Because if your value or energy is too low, now they're going to view you as low. If you walk into a boardroom with CEOs, business owners, and you're the sales weasel, and they're here, they're going to look at you like that. But if you're like, I'm a business owner, you're a business owner, it changes the dynamic. Sorry, you just sent me on that tangent because I'm just sitting there going, we went from all the high level stuff to your mindset affects the outcome of everything you do.
Everything. And you're what you think is normal. You know,
Mhm.
you basically, if you walk into a room of 5 people who are millionaires, the chances of you becoming a millionaire if you hang out with those people more often than everyone else is really high. If you walk into a room of 5 broke people who are afraid of money and don't understand how it works, the chances of you losing your $1 million is really high.
Yeah.
So we also have to normalize the life we want to live or the life that we want to experience. And we have to keep up leveling who we're spending our time with. And when I say who, I don't necessarily just mean actual people in our world. It's what books are you reading? What TV shows are you watching? What do you see as normalcy for outside? I have friends that are terrified right now because of what's going on politically. I have friends that are terrified telling me, well, it's the economy, my business is falling apart, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's your perspective because your
Mhm.
reality is showing you that. So stop reading this stuff, stop
Yep.
watching the news, stop watching your damn Facebook feed because it's tracking. The more you get into the fear, it's going to show you more of the fear. My
Mhm.
Facebook feed doesn't show me that stuff.
Yep.
Not that I'm on it all that frequently because I don't interact with that as a reality. And so it's not playing dumb, it's not pretending, it's not hiding my eyes and saying this isn't happening. That's not it. It's what am I allowing into this vibe? What am I allowing into my space right now? It'll bring more of that stuff. And if we don't
Mhm.
understand that from a woo standpoint, understand it from an algorithm standpoint. The algorithm of Facebook and social media should show us the more we click on something, the more we watch, the more of that stuff shows up. That's exactly how it works energetically. Exactly.
Mhm.
So if you need the
No.
tangible, then go talk about algorithms.
Okay, she's giving you a master class here. She first addressed the fact of your belief system. Then she addressed, well, your belief system said because of what you're putting into you.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at your Facebook, you're looking at your social media, and it is depressing with the news, whatever, you're cultivating it. So why not put in like Think and Grow Rich? Why not put in like millionaire mindset or stuff that people do? Yeah,
This
Napoleon
is
Hill.
my favorite
That
book,
listen.
Outwitting the Devil. If you have not read this book, you need to go read it today. That to me, that should be on everybody's bookshelf if you're a business owner.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like I carry books around. Like as you can see, I have a ton of books,
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yeah, they're all over in the
I'm
office.
always reading. I'm always trying to do it, but I've learned that I have to because I used to be into the whole. I'm listening to the news. I'm getting upset about stuff that people want me to get upset. And I'm like, I'm falling for propaganda. I
Yes.
don't need to fall for, and I don't care on either side. CNN, Fox, whatever your brand
No, they're
is,
all
they're
driven the same
telling you what
way.
they want. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It just makes no sense.
They're driven by their advertisers. And when we start to understand that, most of that's driven by pharmaceutical, the ones who have the most money, the
Mhm.
fast food places, all of the things that is not necessarily supporting us as a whole. And we can talk about that all day long. I came from natural healing, so that's a whole other spin for me. But when you look at
Nice.
who are advertising on the shows that we're watching, you start to look at how do I fit into that?
Mhm.
Right? If I'm asking to watch these things. So it's not that I don't watch TV, it's not, but I also come at it from a different perspective and say I have to watch myself because I don't want to get pulled in either because it's subconscious that we get pulled into,
Mhm.
which impacts your actual dreaming and your thought process and what you again think is normal. So when my clients come to me and say, well, everyone's falling apart right now, this is no longer working. And I say, well, is that true? And even if it is, let's spin some things so that because I also know people are still making lots of money. So let's
Mhm.
help you still do the same in a world that is shifting because it's always shifting. And
Yep.
in the last 6 months, a lot of the stuff that used to work doesn't work anymore. And we're getting to those don't work anymore faster because more and more people are copycatting and not coming at things from an authentic place of who they are. They're just saying, well, that guy's making money, so I'll do it the way he did it. And maybe it works for him because it is who he is, but it's not going to
Mhm.
work for you because it's against the grain of who you are. But people don't get that
I'm
either. I just
I'm
follow the system.
only I'm only laughing because you just hit point three. You had to be authentic. Like
Yeah.
I do self coaching as well sometimes, so I've gone away from it a little bit because I've been bored with it. But like you're just hitting like the secrets to do it. And everyone thinks, oh, it's got to be this way. You say it. No, you have to be authentic. You have to have what will draw your ideal client to you, not what Hormozy drawn to him or
Right.
Kevin Bacon drew to him or Marvel movies drew to them. That's not it. You people will be drawn because they like you and what you come up with. So I love that. But you said something, and I just kind of want to dig into it a little bit more. You were talking about how we try to do what other people say instead of who and what we need to be, and that the economy is always shifting. Well, in a downturn, more millionaires are made statistically
Yes.
than in an upturn anyway.
Yep.
So dig into that a little bit more because I want them to understand. I know you said authenticity, but dig into a little bit more. How can they distinguish themselves from the copy paste cats or the AI bot followers that are authentic but not?
This is interesting. So let's pull AI into this now for the mix. So what's interesting, a lot of people don't understand the way that AI works for the most part, is it's really mirroring back to you exactly who you are. That's how it learns and it mirrors things back. So if you are just copycatting and putting that back in there, it's just going to keep showing up with more copycat and not who you are. So that's why some people are like, oh my God, how does it know me so well? I'm like, it's trained to start figuring out actually who
Yep.
you are and do a personality profile on you. It's fascinating. So when you understand that, you can actually get more of who you are out of it and stop trying to feed it everybody else's stuff. But what's happening out there right now is so many people started figuring out that they could make money if they just sold a system because it makes you feel safer that you can't
Mhm.
screw it up.
Yeah.
So if you buy a system and it's step by step, you don't have to think. And that's how most of us were trained and how we were raised in school. I don't care how you think. I don't want you thinking outside the box. I want you following this system. I had a math teacher one time who, if we didn't do it her way exactly, even if we could prove our work, we got it wrong. I'm like, I have the right answer. I can show you I got to the right answer. I didn't look at the guy's paper next to me. And she would
Yeah.
hand our papers back, our test papers back by the order of how stupid you were. Like
Wow.
you knew who screwed up the most by who got their paper back first and who got their paper back second. And at the end, she would then give you like the highest grade. Well, there happened to be a test one time. There were 5 questions on the test. You had to pick 4 of them. So if you got one wrong, you were already to 75. And then she said, if you want to answer the 5th one, you get bonus. But if you get it wrong, you get the points off.
Hmm.
Well, it was a word problem test, and I couldn't understand that, could not wrap my head around the word problems when we first started. But I remember going back, and my dad sat with me, and we went through, and I was like, I don't understand what X stands for. And he's like, this bag of cookies is X. I'm like, how many cookies are in there? He's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was like, what? And then it all hit me at once, like it because the way she was teaching it, it just wasn't my way to understand.
Of learning. Yeah.
Well, after he and I worked on it, all of a sudden, like it clicked, and I was like, I get all of this. Like it made so much sense to me. And I would get back into class. She hands us this test, pick the 4. If you want to do the 5th one, you'll get this bonus. You could get 125 or you can screw it all up. And I answered the first 4. And I was like, okay, this all made sense. And then I answered the 5th one. She hands all the tests back, and I'm not getting mine back. And right away, I'm like, oh my God, she skipped mine. Oh my God, I did the worst. Like I'm all up in my stuff. And she's still standing there. She hasn't handed me mine back yet. She says, there was one person in the 4 classes that I teach in this that got not only 4 of them right, they got the 5th one. It was one person. I'm like, who is that person? And then she hands me my test, and I'm like, what? And she said, and she's only the first person who answered the first one correctly of all of the people. And it was because I learned a different way to do it. You couldn't have done the answer the way she had been teaching, which was like a setup for failure, right? For everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And like now this is my story, the dumb one of the smart kids. That's how I always saw myself. And I was the only one who got all the right answers, blah, blah, blah. So I was like the hero for that, day. But I've always remembered the lesson of you have to understand how to do things the way that you do them, at least for me, and it will come through. So the authenticity is it coming through and making sense? And I mean that physically as well as logically, making sense for you. Are you stepping into who you really are and not trying to model the way someone else told you it had to be done?
Mm-hmm.
And are you buying into that? So these systems that we're being sold right now, a lot of us fail when we try and use those systems, and then we make it our fault. So there's a lot of people out there telling you it's your fault because it's not their system that's the problem, it's you. I'm like, well, kinda. It's because that system doesn't make sense to our vibration or our frequency. And one of the things I do with my clients, I use things like human design and epigenetics and a bunch of things that I pull in together. I know it's super fun.
I like that. Sorry.
But I find their unique makeup at their core, and then I teach them what that looks like. And then they can take some of these systems, tweak them over, because the framework for the most part is the same. I mean, marketing is the same. Who are you marketing to? What do they want right now? Do you have the bridge to get them there? And do they trust you? I mean, that's always the same. But if you can understand who you are and what makes you unique in that, and you see it, all of this stuff starts to fall into place. And people are like blown away when I do these reports for them. And then they sit down and they're like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. Like you see them coming into the authenticity because I can put tangibility to it. I can put words to it. And then I kind of know them better than they do in that moment. And then they're like, I feel like I'm being seen for the first time. Like I feel heard and understood in a way that I've never before, or I've always felt that, but I was told it was wrong. I was told that it made me too much, or I was too loud, or I was whatever, too much stuff. And so there's the trauma that comes into it when we're told that we can't be who we are when we're kids. And that's where it goes back to where we were talking before. Up to the age of 7, whatever you had to do to be normal in the family or the tribe that was raising you, a lot of times becomes the trauma because it's not authentically who you are, but it wasn't safe to be that as children. And I mean that kind of very broadly, that idea of safe.
Right.
So that was a very long answer, but we got
No,
there.
I love it. I love it because my mind was going like 18 different ways. Because I think entrepreneurs are a different type of human
Breed. We are a
breed.
completely different breed. Yes, we
We think
are.
way differently. Like
Yeah.
even you looking outside the box, and finding the way for you to learn it to be able to answer the questions because she was teaching you how to be a good employee. You're a
Yes.
business owner, so you can't look at it like an employee and follow the rules or follow the systems. Here, I'm giving you another little tip there.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how you're creating it, like Alex Sharpton would say, going into the world and creating something and forcing it to be here now. So I love that. Second point, human design. I'm a big human design person. I like that. I'm a 5-1 generator. I do
Oh,
know
we
that
are, we
much.
are very similar. So yes, yes.
Yeah, so I've dug into that a little bit. There's more to that, but I'm like a 5-1 generator. I'm actually, here's a funny thought. Most people think I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I am
I am too.
such an introvert. I have to go on walks. I have to have time to myself. I can't deal with it. But you said a few key points. One, find out who you are.
Yes.
Two, step into your gifts. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a salesperson, because that's mostly the people that listen to this, salespeople are entrepreneur light in my mind. We just let someone else pay the overhead, but you're still having to hunt, to kill, to eat. Same thing.
Agreed.
You look at the world differently. The school system didn't work for you. You're not good at sitting in an office 9 to 5. You weren't good sitting in the schoolroom 9 to 5, being told what to do. Because this is my next question to you. Do you always like to challenge things? Like, does someone have to prove something to you when they say, "Hey, 1 plus 1 is 2"? You don't just accept it on face value, or how does your mind work there?
It depends if I care about the subject. Like
Well,
I
yes,
would
yes,
get
there,
like
yes.
I would get like the highest grade they've ever seen in their lives if I liked it. And I would like
Yep.
challenge the whole system. But if I didn't like it, like history, I had no idea why they were teaching us history or geography. I would barely pass the class because I was like,
Hmm.
French, I'm never using this. Like I didn't see any point to it. So if I see the point to it, then yes, I'm in there challenging, looking. And it's not because I want to challenge authority, which is what they would often get confused by. It's because I
Hmm.
wanted to understand this topic at a whole nother level and turn it over and say, how else could this be utilized? Which is why I love using human design with things where I will take people's entire sales process, their marketing, their websites, everything they're doing, filter it through who they are, create a 25-page report on what could be done better so they're in their best self, in their best frequency. And it could be all correct, like the website's correct and the sales strategy is correct, but it's not landing the way that it could, even if they are making
Hmm.
sales, because it's not coming through their unique design. And then I take all of the stuff that I did as a natural health practitioner, I take epigenetics and neuroscience, and I spin all of that into it. And then I look at traumas and past selves,
Hmm.
and I'm like, okay, now how do we let you step in so this just flows? And what's interesting for most of us that are entrepreneurs, we think things are supposed to be way harder than they are. So we'll work 80 hours to not work 40, which all day long I will work 80 hours to not work 40. But there's also a piece of us that we don't need the grind. We don't need it to be hard. We don't need it to suffer in order to have it flow. And a lot of us don't know
Hmm.
what to do with it when it comes into us. So we start feeling the flow and then we crash and burn because we don't know how to receive the success because we were
Yeah.
grinding for so long. Then we were like, oh, now we have it. And now it feels like a tidal wave. And then we lose it. So a lot of the people come to me, they've hit the levels they wanted to be at and couldn't hold it. So
Hmm.
that's where I also come in too. How do you step into this and also receive what's coming at you that you say you wanted? But if
Well,
you use,
I want
yeah,
to throw you a curveball now because my mind's thinking this way. I've hit levels of success and I got bored. Like I can sustain it all day long.
that's
I
the
can
story though.
crush it all day long. Like, but it's like I won. I
Yes,
want
and but
something
that's
new.
the story. I got bored. That's not it. It's because you now got to a point where you've hit another ceiling of because you're a 5-1, you need to be challenged. So what you've done is you've done what you're brilliant at. You got it to where it needs to go. Now you either need to sell it, which is I'm working with 2 clients right now, and you're at a sale point because they're at that level. But then there's the guilt. I did all this work to get here, and I'm just going to walk away. I'm like, you're not walking away. You're either selling it, and yes, feel free to close the doors if you want to, or find the right people to run it. And then that entrepreneurial
Ooh.
level of us is, but I can't because if I let somebody else do it, they're going to mess it up. I'm supposed to do it. And we don't know how to delegate. It's an actual skill that a lot of us just
Hmm.
don't have. So the idea, and we tell ourselves the story, I'm just bored. So therefore, it's not that you're bored. You've done what you were supposed to do here. You've completed what you were actually supposed to be here to do. Now hand it off sell it, do your thing. And I've done that with multiple companies. I've sold some of them. I've handed them off to my team that I've built underneath me, and I've walked away. There have just been times where I went past that point, burned myself out,
Hmm.
stayed in the guilt and the fear. Look at what I built up. Oh my God. My husband used to work for me, and I decided, oh, I can't leave because now I'm going to ruin his job too. And all the people who work for me and all the clients that need me. And I tell that story. They need me. I'm like, do they? No.
No,
My job was to build this and allow the people who are really good at the maintain to take over. But
which
a
is
lot of
not
us can't do that.
entrepreneurs. We're
No,
not good at
they're not.
maintaining. You
No.
know what? You're literally just like in a different way than what most people would listen to. Because I'm weird. Like I work still for corporate America. I'm still a top closer for a top 50 organization, and I like it because we were talking. I get to talk to CEOs that run billion-dollar companies or million-dollar companies, and I'm working at that level.
Yeah.
I found for me, because I did sales coaching for about 3 years, and no offense to anyone listening, and all the people I helped, I love, but I would get bored with small problems. If it's not something big and complex, I don't. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, just do this, this, this. How did you know that? It's simple. This is what it is. But I forget that's my gift to be able to see, like a friend of mine said, I take chaos and order it, like on
Yep.
certain things in people's processes. And I didn't even click in my head, like, oh, I just do that. So I just literally in the past month told all my clients that were there, I'm going to finish it out. Then I'm just going to walk away from sales coaching for right now because it's just not serving me. I'm not as excited about it. I don't need to do it.
Right.
But now I have a different idea about helping people wake up to a life they love living because I can get into that because sales is boring. But if you say, hey, Joe, I want to take my family to Hawaii. I want to have this, 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 and this. How do I get there? Oh, now I have a new problem. I can reverse engineer and I can help you find that. It's like, it's just, I'm shifting. When you
Yeah.
said that, that just like popped into my head, like, oh, this is what I'm doing already.
Yeah. You've mastered the level of sales that you needed to be able to now see the next level that you can achieve. It's like being at the bottom of a mountain. You think there's a top, but when you get to the top, you can see beyond where that top was that you couldn't have had that perspective at the bottom of the first level of the mountain. You're now achieving that. So you're not bored. You've mastered this next thing. And now you're open to see something that wasn't even available to you before.
Yeah.
And you think things through so quickly. I do the same thing. Generators are really good at that, especially 5-1s. You are really good at seeing a process and seeing a problem. If you can slow down, because people have done that to me where they're like, how did you get from here to here? I'm like, how did you not? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's what I do. Right. So you have to step back and slow down the process and start over. And be like, if I did this really slowly, what did I start with? Where did I go next? How did I make this? How did I make this understanding?
Yeah.
And you have a system for doing that. So, but it's hard sometimes when you do something quickly. That's why it's so important for people, I think, to understand who they really are at their core and where their zones of genius are. And when I explain to people where their zones of genius are, they're like, not everybody can do that. I'm like, no, it's a superpower for you. You now get frustrated because you think everyone's doing it and don't even recognize the value. So a lot of times that people don't charge for their zone of genius because they think everyone has it.
Yeah.
So that's also where that comes from in there. And so I can also see why at this point, teaching someone at that level, you're like, no, because you're
I
so far
tried.
beyond it. So
It
far.
just bored me. It
Of
really did. I'm
course.
like, except for people that I really like, that are really good friends of mine. Yeah, I got you. Like,
Mhm.
if you're on this course, you have a business, I got you. But it was just like, you're paying me 2,500 to do this, and
Yep.
can
It's
tell you
not
this in
a
three
challenge.
minutes, and you want me to stay on this call for an hour. I can't. I've literally just fixed problems that fast. Like I'm done. What do you mean
Yeah.
you're done? Like, this is what you need to do. Until you do this, I can't do anything else.
Right.
I know
And
that sounds mean, but I'm like,
it's not me.
if you ask me to help you, and I'm going to tell you, you have to do the processes, and it's just how that works.
Yep. And you see it very clearly and the need for it. It's not their zone of genius, so it feels hard for them at sometimes. So I know a lot of my job is I get there quickly and then I have to sit with them and hold the space for them to catch up and me to help them find their way over. And so I still get enjoyment out of a lot of that where I'm helping them past this point to get to where we are and to use their skill set in order to find that. So that's still like this puzzle that I'm putting together the whole time. I'm like, they don't have this piece, but they have this piece. So let's lean into that and not even worry about this piece, which is why so many people struggle with
Mhm.
systems that worked for someone else because they weren't built for their design. or their
Yeah.
uniqueness.
Yeah. Well, you can't, yeah, you can't be a pretend. A copy of a copy is a copy. It doesn't work because it's not going to have that flair of what you bring to the table or how you see things. If I've
Right.
tried to get my system, well, how do you connect with this? And I tell them, and they're like, you call them? Yeah. What do you say? Hello? I just talked to them like we're talking right now,
Yeah.
Kirsten. I just talked to them. I don't care what their title is. It's not a big deal to me because I know billionaires and I know people that make 20,000 or probably 40 to 50,000 a year and they're happy. I
Yep.
judge the person by by their energy, by who they are. How do they make me feel? Do I feel safe? Do I feel like I can trust them? Do I feel that this is going to be a mutual exchange where we both benefit? Great. I'm in. If I don't feel it's a mutual exchange for me or for the client,
Right.
I'll refer them away.
Yep.
That blows people's minds all the time. I literally have done it even in corporate America, and managers like, what are you doing? I'm like, watch. 4 months later, they give me 4 to 5 referrals of people that I can really help, and I made way more money. And I have a raving fan because I didn't step on pennies or step on dollars to pick up pennies.
Right. And that's where the authenticity comes in. It's also where the knowing that frequency, that vibe you're feeling with them. I have turned people down the same way too. Or I said to them, at this point, I don't actually even want an answer for you right now. I think you're going to be better. Go sit with this for 24 hours, 48 hours, and let's put something on the calendar. We're going to get back together and see where you are. Because my job is clarity, helping you to a clear yes or a clear no. Is this the right bridge for me at this time? And that's also my job to see that for me or my company or who I'm selling for. And let's make sure we're on the same page. Because when people come over the edge and they still say yes and they hand you a credit card, but it wasn't the right moment, they're going to turn into the worst client. They're going to blame things on you. They're going to wobble and want their money back. They're not going to get the
Yep.
results. It's going to turn into something else. So let's just, the biggest goal is finding the right people at the right time with the right vibe.
Yep.
But even when they're not, they have a respect for you at that moment because you're being clear, and you're going to see the referrals and you're going to see them, or they're going to come back in the right vibration at
Yeah.
the right moment later. So it makes such a difference. If you can hear my
Okay.
bulldog snoring on the
Oh,
floor.
you're good. I have 5 pugs and a black lab. So dogs on our
I have a
show
pug on
is
my floor too.
100%. Oh,
Yeah,
you have a pug
pug.
too?
I
Oh,
do.
see, pug people
Pug,
are
a
the best.
Frenchie. We are the best. We
We
can't
are
tell them
like,
that though, because I feel like a staff member for my pug. Like
oh,
I work for her.
yeah,
Here's the
yeah.
ball. Do this thing, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of my good friends, Brian Bogart, they ended up rescuing a pug, and I'm like, hey, Brian, you're gonna keep that dog. No, we're gonna put it in. And now that his favorite dog, when I was on his show, he got a pug T-shirt. Like he is all in the.
All in.
They're magical creatures.
Yeah,
Warning:
there
if
is.
you want a magical creature, pugs are great, but you're stuck. You will have a pug the rest of your life. It's just how it
Yeah,
goes.
yeah, yeah. She was a whole rescue situation where I'm like, do
I
you need
I
another
love rescues.
dog?
All of ours are rescues.
That's true.
Like we got four from my wife's friend who was given a dog and couldn't handle it. I have another one from a pug rescue in DFW where we lived in Dallas, Fort Worth. Heck, the black labs from the shelter too. Like I always do rescue dogs. I'm not people want to do breeders, whatever. That's just not my thing. I like to just rescue animals. It's my
Yep.
wife does too, but 6 is enough. We don't need any more.
6 was our max. Yeah, but we're at 4. 4 seems to be a magical number for us. And somehow when we
Well,
don't have
that will
4,
be the hope
yeah.
soon. I do have to add, well, let's do this. I want people to know where you are. We're not done, but I want them to be able to connect with you. So where can people find you?
Evolveminded.com. The website's about to shift, but it is what it is right now. It always is in a shift, right? I'm really big in LinkedIn. They can still find me on Facebook because that's just, because we're Gen X and I still have Facebook.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
Gen X.
they're really, otherwise I don't dance on TikTok. I don't I'm just like, if
No.
you really want to work with me, it's not hard to find me.
Yeah. There's one video of me dancing on TikTok with my son and my youngest from years ago around Christmas because we had these pajama things. We were just being silly, but there's only one. Most of it's just podcast and talks and all that.
I will
But
still speak to you.
I've been seeing this the whole time. What's up with the butterflies? There must
Oh,
be some connection with the butterflies. Like I love
there
wolves. I'm connected to
is.
wolves. What's up with the butterflies?
Okay, so once I learned this, I was like all in with the butterflies. I've always just kind of felt this connection and was like, that's weird. But once I learned this, and I was like, what? So there's something that they teach in med school called imaginal cells. Like, look it up, they're real things that a caterpillar has. The imaginal cells are the thing that has them have the sight or the view or the vision of where they're going to end up, which is a very different place. So
Mhm.
it gives them the faith to step in, liquefy completely down to these little cells in the cocoon, and then come back around as the butterfly and have the strength to let themselves literally die in one form to come back in another. We have the same thing within us. If we can tap into it and we allow ourselves to tap into it, we do have a vision of like the most ideal version of us. And once you have that, you get pulled to do that because you start making decisions based from that version of yourself, not the version of yourself you're in right now. And when we make decisions from who we are today, we won't reach that. We have to make decisions from who we are imagining to
Mhm.
be. So when people start to get that, I'm like, this is an actual biology thing. This is an actual thing they teach in med school. This is a real thing. I'm not just making it up, envision it, and it will come. There's actually a whole piece of it that pushes us or drives us or actually pulls us to this ideal vision. And it sets in your mind as a memory.
Mhm.
So as you see something, whether you are fearful, oh my God, I'm going to have this horrible thing happen to me, or oh my gosh, I'm open to this great thing happening to me, they both get put into the brain, into the body as a memory, even though it hasn't actually happened yet. Because the brain can't distill between what I think might
Yep.
happen to what I remember happening, which is another story we could go for another day. Your memory of what happened is also skewed.
Yeah.
So you that can actually be shifted too, which I do work with people on that too. So that's where the butterfly thing comes in. When I learned about imaginal cells and this like legit biology component to them, like it's a real thing. So let's take the woo, make it tangible and bring it back down to reality. And that's why the butterfly thing is just such a
No,
big
I
thing.
love that. I love it. Well, it actually you can go into religions, like the Bible says, calling things are not as though they were. Other religions have different things that you speak. I know
Mm-hmm.
there's the subconscious actually gets 90% what you're putting into your head. It doesn't realize it. That's why again we talk about what you're watching, what you're doing, what you're infusing, who you're around, the energy. Like when I got on this call, my energy went up because your energy was there. Like I could feel the energy shift up, which is good. There's sometimes I get on calls like this and I'm like, oh crap, I got to pull this up because they're not in the right spot. Not
Right.
in like in the negative, like just people life happens. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I love that and want your thoughts on this. So off of that point, we can train our mind to be
Yeah.
what we want. So if I want to be a billionaire, which I don't, I want to be a millionaire because a millionaire doesn't have as many problems as a billionaire does, and I can be content and happy and still help a lot of people. I'm very distinct on that. I know people who are billionaires, but their life is crazier than mine. Like I still like to sit at home at night and watch baseball with my wife at times. I still want to play video games and do certain things. So I'm
Yeah.
going to create a world that works for me.
Yes.
Is that kind of something that you teach people like reverse engineer? Hey, this is what I want. I'm going to throw a number 250 million in the bank so I can get to my charities, do the things I want, but I don't want to be working 7 days a week. I want to work 5 days a week. I'm
Yeah.
being very specific.
Mhm.
And I think, at least for me, and I want your thoughts because you're probably smarter on this than I am, is it the brain and teaching the brain that affects it first, or is it speaking it out that makes the brain hear? How do you get into the state? And I know it's not just speaking, but I know that's a step.
Yes. So it's really the state that you're impacting. So it's the theta state, which is where we can really do a lot of great work and we can undo what we believe are traumas. We can have the vision of where we want to be and make it happen. So it's really getting into the theta state. So a lot of the things that a lot of people do where you're just repeating the same thing every day, if you're not getting into theta state, you're not actually going to really change anything. So here's a really easy example. Somebody wants to lose weight and they're standing there looking in the mirror saying, I am thin, I am a healthy weight, I am thin, I am a healthy weight. The subconscious is also playing with that saying, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're
Mm-hmm.
a liar.
But their
And the
actions,
liar
yeah.
part will win because that's what's ingrained into our actual cells and tissues of the body. It's in us. So just repeating what we want isn't enough. We actually have to do something. So there's a multitude of different things that I'll use with clients depending on which one. Sometimes it's a mix of hypnosis, psych K. There's a series. I have like 1,000 letters after my name that helps with this. I do specific types of breath work that a lot of people have never experienced before. To start opening up that people who've ever done psychedelics, they've ever done mushrooms, things like that, it opens up that part of the brain and they can get there faster sometimes when they're working with
Mm-hmm.
the right people. So I'm not advocating somebody just eats a bunch of mushrooms, right?
Right,
So
right.
you really want to work with somebody who understands how to help you open that space no matter how they're doing it, and integrate it into reality for you. So you can do it quickly, it can happen over time, but you need integration because you can have a great moment with any of these processes. But if you don't integrate it and know how to pull it into your reality, you'll lose it. It'll be a cool moment, but you won't necessarily hold on to it. So it's not just speaking, and it's different for each person. Some people are better verbally, some people are better mentally, emotionally, breath work, all of it. What you have to do is get into the theta state, into the body. You can't just think your way out of this. You can't just white knuckle your way and convince yourself, because it's just like, stop thinking about pink elephants. Don't think about pink elephants. You can't not think about pink elephants right now.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
where a lot of the people are teaching manifestation and changing your mindset, and they make you try and force it. You can't force this. You have to receive it and a
Oh,
change.
so I got another question because of
Yeah.
the way you said that. So it's more of a feminine surrender than a masculine push.
A thousand percent. And a lot of people don't understand what a surrender really means until you've experienced it. I thought I knew until I experienced it, because even the idea of I have to let go of this, that's a masculine force. The idea of I can't think of white elephants or pink elephants, that's still an action. When you surrender, you accept what is happening right now as the very thing that you need to experience in order to receive what it is you say you want, which I know sounds like splitting hairs to some people,
No.
but it's where you go, okay, I'm going to stop resisting and fighting this. I'm going to I'm going to just step into the idea that this is here for me. I don't understand it right now, and you don't need to understand it. You need to experience it and feel it and step into it and just know you're going to be okay on the other side. And that's really hard for most of us who are doers. And I've
Yeah.
come from that masculine push grind energy, and that got me this far. But what got you here isn't necessarily going to
Well,
get you to the next level.
yes, agreed. Sorry, I dropped my ring.
You
Um, I was playing with my ring while you were talking about that. But I think what it is for me is it's scary. Like in my mind, because I'm used to
You're
having
not
to
in
pull all the
control.
levers. Yeah, I'm used to pulling all the levers, doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
So to release and just allow, but that's why you need a guide with like, say, ayahuasca or any plant-based medicine that you want, or breath work, which I've done a bunch of different breath work, which is great because it makes you get into a state where your the front of your brain, and I'm not saying it as correctly, will drop so that you can actually get into who you really are. But
Yep.
the other thing you said that I loved was you had to take action. And I'll use myself. Beginning of the year, I was 205 pounds. As of today, I'm 170. I didn't
Congratulations.
just doing it by saying, oh, I'm healthy. I'm not going to eat a Twinkie. I don't like Twinkies, so I just threw that one out there. I literally said, I'm going to do it. So I made an I am statement. But then for 6 months, I went on like a carnivore veggie type of thing. Now I'm training for a half marathon. So I've had to add in some carbs, but I'm eating healthy carbs. But I knew that that was the intent. So I made the intent in January. And it took me till probably about March, April to get down to where I'm at, which I've sustained this weight. And then I've started training for the half, but it was action,
Yep.
speaking, and then having a plan in place, and then letting people know around me, hey, I'm just not doing this right now. Oh,
Right.
I'm not drinking alcohol at all right now. I'm not anti-alcohol. If someone wants to do it, cool. I've drank for years. I just haven't drank since December because at the time it's not serving me. But then it was
Right.
surrendering to who I need to be to get stuff to work.
You were behaving as if you were already that person, a person that has the thing I want, it has the weight that I want, the healthiness, the ability to run this marathon, would not make this choice, or she
Right.
would, or he would make this choice. Right.
Mhm.
So when we have the opportunity, everything's a choice. We have the opportunity to behave in the way we are now, or to behave in the way that we will be when we're at this other
Mhm.
level. Which one are we choosing? And it's not a judgment. So, what is driving the choice is what I get into with people. Whatever's driving your choice is who is going to show up tomorrow.
Mhm.
So, who's making the choice right now? Is it your future vision of yourself, or is it who you are in this moment?
Yep.
And I have to tell it to you, some days who I am right now is making the freaking choice. The version of me that I want to be, sometimes she makes the choice.
Yep.
But which one's going to win out, and what's driving it? Is it fear? Is it upset? Is it I just gave up? Is it I'm not worth it? What's coming from the choice, or what's driving it?
Well, and you know the weird thing, this is not weird, but it's just it is a superpower of mine. When I make a choice, I just do it. And I didn't realize that people couldn't just do it. Like if I decide I'm not going to do this, I just don't. If I decide I'm going to work out every day, I make myself like that's just something I'm really good at. And I was like, but you said you were going to do it. And it took me a long time to go, wait a minute. Not everyone does this. I need to give them grace because in my mind, this is just normal. But it does bring me back to this thing you mentioned, the 5 people you hang out.
Yeah.
I specifically will hang out with people that are more successful than I am, that are
Yep.
doing things that I want to do, or can bring me insight and wisdom. And I limit my interaction. And I even tell my wife sometimes, like, yeah, I'm not going to hang out with them anymore. I can't. She's like, why? They're nice people. Yeah, they're nice people, but I don't want to be them. Their mindset doesn't work. That does
Right.
not work for me. And I can't, I'm going to get one trip on this planet. I can't shift and make Billy Bob. And I don't know if there's Billy Bob listeners. Well, Billy Bob, that's a weird name. That's like a country boy name, whatever. Who wants to sit and eat bonbons and just talk politics and football? I can't do that. Now, when I was 20, I used to love to just eat junk food and talk football,
Sure.
but that was my 20-year-old self. What do you want? How are you going to get there?
Yeah. And that's the question. What do I want? And is it this? And if it's not this, then I have to do something different than this. It's not a judgment. It just is. So
Mhm.
that's where people get into judgment and fear and I've done this wrong and resentment and all the stuff. And I'm like, yep, you are where you are now. Do you want to not be here? Then something has to change. Something. If you want anything to be different, you may not like the results you get if you do something different, but at least it won't be here. So let's look at that. And I think a lot of people like working with me because I honestly don't have any judgment on which way they go with it. And I think they're like, oh, like, so I can't screw this up. I'm like, unless you decide there's a way to screw it up, but you're doing something different. So what we're looking for is something different than what you're experiencing now. Then let's do something different. And it may not work, but you will get the information that you need to get to the next level. And I think that's what you did with a lot of your sales is you've mastered it because you figured out all the different ways to do it and got to where you needed to be. But now you need to go play with a different way of doing things, a
Hmm.
different way of working with people because it excites you in a different way and you learn more. You get to step into another version of yourself. And to me, that's exciting.
Yeah, well, it's just reinventing myself. I get to pick who I want to be. And
Yep.
every change is a change. And it's not a bad thing. Like I have, over the past 4 years, been challenging every belief I have. Why? Because if I just accept it, is it really my belief or was it given to me without any thought? So
Right.
like I've been on that whole dynamic of what do I really believe? What do I really want? What really works for me? And I love the no judgment thing because that doesn't mean that there's not certain things that you feel are right or wrong. It's just, hey, I'm holding space
Exactly.
for you. This is your life. This is
Yes.
what you're looking to do. I only clarify that because there's some people that are very literal. What do you mean no judgment? What if he killed a kid? Yeah, if I killed a kid, that would be bad. I would judge someone for that. Okay, cool. I got you. No
Maybe
big
because
deal.
I could even argue that one. What if someone was trying to kill your kid and your only choice was to kill the person trying to come to your kid?
I'd
It's like
kill him.
you start
100%.
right.
Yeah.
See, so we start to say, well, there's nothing to me, almost nothing is black and white. There's always
Yeah.
a gray area to start playing with. I'm not advocating people run out and start killing people.
No, no, we know that.
But we start
Full
playing
disclosure,
around
she's
with
not saying kill anyone. We're good. Okay, go
it.
ahead.
Super disclaimer. Yeah. The disclaimer big time. But it's the idea of when we start thinking black and white, we change or we shut down possibility. Well, what if that? So, a lot of what I will do with my clients, I'll say, okay, rather than you trying to change yourself, let's do this. Let's open up a different part of your brain that is not open right now and ask this question. If I were the kind of person who had whatever it is that you want, $1 million, a better life, a better spouse, whatever your story is, if I were the kind of person who had that thing, how would I act? Now, what
Mhm.
you've done is opened up a different part of your brain because a different part of your brain has to get involved with that conversation the way we phrased it. And it opens up your ability to not be wrong. But if you say, if I do, I have to do this in order to lose weight, I have to do this in order to be healthy, I have to do this in order to get $1 million, you can make yourself wrong. But if you're playing with possibility, and this is why kids up to 7 are so much better off than we are in
They
this
are.
game, because they're playing creative games. They love to live in possibility. What if I was a dinosaur today? What if I was a princess who knew how to, do all of these things? Like it's amazing. And then we start to shut that down in them. There are
Mhm.
neuro pathways you can open up again, and then you start to use them more and more and more, and then you start to see possibility, and then it becomes true, and then you start to take action based on that. That's
Hmm.
neuroscience. That's how we start to use the neuroplasticity and actually create new pathways in the brain. So if anybody gets anything out of this conversation, start asking yourself impossibility. If I were the kind of person that did this, if there was an opportunity for me to, what would it look like? It changes everything.
Well, you know what's funny because you're saying that. I'm doing the half marathon. I've done one before, so I know what I need to do to get it done, which is great. But the day after, I'm going to have a day to celebrate, whatever. But then when I get back, I'm shifting what I'm doing to build muscle to go from 170 to 185 because I want to build the muscle and get more physically strong. But I know how to do the half and I know how to lose. So I've already trained or hired a trainer to help me guide me to get to it because it's not that I can't do the lifts. I'm doing the lifts. I actually did a session. He goes, "No, you're lifting great." And we're doing a little bit of something different till the end. But I have to get my food stuff right
Yeah,
because losing weight food to building muscle, two different ball games. Like I have to eat 3,000 calories. And I'm like, I can't eat 3,000 calories. You got to be kidding me. I don't know how to do this. So like it's just getting into that playful, well, what if I did this and tweaked it here? And I think we should play more. I think that's the problem. We don't
100%.
play enough.
We
Like
don't.
my 11-year-old makes me play, and it was great because it gets me
Right.
back into the, oh, let's just go play around and dance or be silly or whatever.
Yep.
And I get to go back for a moment. But really, we're just at play with our life anyway. So either you can be grumpy and miserable or you can be happy. I'd rather be happy and content. I'm not saying that life is happy every moment of the day because we know it's not. But my mindset, and I can't remember, I think maybe it was Jay Wall, I don't remember. Someone said, I choose to be happy every day, but
Yep.
then my actions line up to it. And that's what you've been talking about. It's not just speaking it or just the woo, we just can say it. It's saying it, action, surrounding you with people, getting a plan in place to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and back to one of your points earlier, and I actually talk about this on my own podcast. There is a feminine frequency and a masculine frequency. This isn't man versus woman or all the gender conversation. It's frequency, and you need balance. So if the push do energy is out of balance with the receive and the flow energy, then you are going to have something that's going to go out of balance in your life. It's going to be your health, it's going to be your relationships, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be the money coming in, it's going to be your business, whatever it is. So it's understanding that you need the do and you need the receive, or something's going to go out of whack. I mean, the technical term, right? Out of whack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's also a lot of what I give back to people too, is that we need to feel comfortable and balanced in both to understand the give and take. There is always a give and take. So if we're
Mm-hmm.
over giving somewhere, we're going to go out of balance. If we're not receiving enough, we're going to go out of balance. It's that masculine, feminine vibration, again, back to frequency and energy. And a lot of people are like, they don't fully grasp that. Then they start to experience it because I can break it down and say, this is more of that masculine. But if we're pushing too hard, like again, I was taught early on as a kid, it was better to be more boy, like more masculine, which was kind of not in my vibe. So I was big into sports and I wanted my dad to pay attention to me, and he paid more attention to me when I sucked it up and I walked it off and I didn't cry and I didn't act like a stereotypical girl. And then I overproduced on the idea of I have to push and
Mm-hmm.
struggle and suffer. And I didn't know how to do that. And I know a lot of women struggle with that, especially high level performers, CEO levels.
Mm-hmm.
We try and be this heavier masculine. And again, I mean that more from a frequency.
Yep.
And so it's how do we do both and feel safe in it?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really interesting combination of all of the things, but really we have to get into who we really are, understand how to tap into knowing when we're on the right path. Because you were saying, you know what, you get into your gut, you get into your intuition on that. How do you know what that is? And not conditioning, and we should just be afraid right now, but how do you get into who you really are? And it's different for all of us. So that's what I love working with clients on, is figuring out that piece for them. And then they just know how to fully step in, feel safe, feel protected. And then they get to really show their zone of brilliance and their superpowers in a way that's just, it's so amazing. And then their companies just, or their sales come in, or they just start experiencing a different level of success.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm gonna ask you one more question. We'll land the plane. We're definitely gonna have to have you back on. With with this, 'cause I find this interesting. Do you find most high achievers, doesn't matter if it's male or female, are more in the masculine push, until they're able to learn how to receive? And is that like the next unlock to go to the next level?
What I find is that is the way we're taught, most of us, to get to a level of success is more of that masculine push, grind energy. But what I'm also seeing is that's also why we get to a certain age, and a lot of it hits in the 40s and 50s for many, many reasons, why we get slammed by some sort of physical ailment. Mine was autoimmune. I had two autoimmune conditions, which is how I ended up becoming a natural health practitioner. And then I raised a company doing that. But we end up in a breakdown mode. We end up in just a horrible situation, and it's breaking us down. But we're also being told by traditional medicine that that's normal, and that happens to everyone at certain ages, and you should be on medications. And so we normalize it. We don't realize that's the body saying, you've pushed too hard. You don't know how to receive. The average person in the United States is on 4 medications or more. And when we look at that as normal, we don't question why. And I'm not saying there aren't medications that are out there that are helpful. So
right, I got you. Yep.
But if we're taking something that's usually there's an imbalance going on in the body, there's an inflammatory response, which is coming through us as well, energetically, emotionally, and mentally. And there's some outside balance that's just not there. So that's where I start looking at that. Most of us were taught push harder, suffer more, grind, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, the stories we're told, right? If it's not hard, then it's not worth it. Like, I grew up thinking everything had to be hard, and when it didn't feel hard, I didn't know how to hold it, because I was like,
you'd make it more hard.
Yeah.
Yep. You'd make it more hard.
Yes. I go out of my way.
Crap. I need to do more. I didn't do enough for this. Yep.
I'm not worthy because I didn't do enough work for it. So we lose what we want, or it comes out in us in our relationships or in our health, where we can't hold a good, solid relationship, or our health goes sideways. And so when we don't listen to that and see that as the world, the universe telling us something's out of balance, you are inflamed in some way, we won't adjust. So that goes back to, who are you listening to that's telling you this is normal? Are all the pharmaceuticals okay? Is my balance not there? And the healthcare system doesn't care if you're in balance. They're selling.
The healthcare system's about money. It flat out is about money. If they can advertise on TV and not have your doctor actually tell you what you need, but they can advertise this drug to talk to you, to talk to your doctor, something's out of whack there. Follow the money. That's my theory on that.
And we're in a system to suppress a reaction, to suppress a symptom, not to reverse it or find the real true root cause of it. The real root cause isn't the autoimmune condition or whatever you have. It's what caused that in the first place. And I was able to reverse both of my autoimmune conditions. I have a book on how to do it. I helped hundreds and hundreds of people do it. It's a thing, right? But it comes back to the core of, are you authentic to who you are? Are you vibrating in the right authentic space and balance for you? And what's causing your inflammatory response, emotionally, mentally, or physically? And your body is just talking to you. So if you have a symptom, it's just a way for your body to say, hey, something's out of balance.
No, I love that.
Oversimplified, but.
Oh, no, it's perfect. Is there any words of wisdom, anything else you want to leave our guests with? We're definitely going to have you back on. Maybe we'll go down the health road, or maybe even a little bit more on the human design, or just getting a little bit deeper that way, because I love that stuff. But anything that we've missed that we haven't touched base on?
Is it, honestly, if you are feeling something, it's probably true. Like, you're feeling like this isn't the right process for you, or this system that you were told was supposed to work isn't working for you, even though it supposedly worked for everyone else. Listen to that. You're not broken. You're not crazy. There's something within you that just hasn't been aligned in a way, or feel in balance. And there's a way for you to do that and be successful. And the vision you have is available.
Awesome. No, I love that. Thank you, Kristin, for being on. And for all you listening, rewind this, send it to someone that needs it, and take action. Don't just speak it. Reverse engineer where you want to go to and how you can get there, and surround yourself with people like me and Kristin that can support you. And until next time, shoot us a DM. Let us know how it's working so we can help.